Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the case may be, wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome. I was gonna say welcome back, people. I'm saying welcome back to myself. I'm saying welcome back to Keith. I think Evan and Conroy have been holding the fort while we've been away. Well enough, good enough. But welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to chat. Welcome back, Liverpool fans. Welcome back, Ops. If you're in the chat, Arsenal, Man City, Man United. If you're in the chat, you're all welcome. Everyone's welcome. It seems like it's been a while. But we're back. Sunday night equals red fellas. Thank you very much for tuning in. We will be talking, of course, we'll be talking Liverpool 3 in the end, Burnley 1. We'll be talking all things Liverpool mainly. And then we'll be segueing into and touching upon the hot topic that is Xabi Alonso and the search for our new coach. Because as we know, our current legend of a coach will soon be leaving us or these shores. Well, he might not be leaving these shores, actually. He might decide to stay in Liverpool but just retire from football. We don't know. I have Evan, soccer god, having some... I'll let him describe and... tell us what is he having, because he's swigging away. I mean, I'm the only one allowed to eat, but you're the only one allowed to drink on the stream. What evidence is that?
This is not a sponsored moment, by the way, but this is a Health Aid kombucha. It's like it's a tea. It's good for your stomach. It's good for your gut microbiome. It's got ginger and lemon in it. That's good in any situation, in any context, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, it makes me feel good. My stomach needs to be ready because it's Super Bowl Sunday. And as you all know, Americans love to eat, and especially on Super Bowl Sunday. So I got a long day ahead of me. I got to start getting ready. If
it makes you feel good, it makes us feel good. Because you feeling good makes us feel better. And, everyone's a winner, baby. So you swig away. Don't feel it. I'm sure there's limits how much you can, because you've been drinking it for a good 10 minutes now. I'm sure there's you're not supposed to overexert in everything, like everything.
Well, I mean, it's a very strong ginger lemon. Little sips. You're not supposed to drink it quickly.
So this is your version of the South Americans, what Nunez and McAllister have, right? This is your version.
No, I would say this is adjacent, branch off the same tree. Definitely.
There you go. Conroy, I'm sure you're just an Iron Brew man. Bollocks to all that kind of stuff. Just go to the local store and pick up a can of Iron Brew, right?
Yeah, that's no. You think so, but to be fair to Evan, recently, because stuff in my personal life as well, I've actually had to look at different things to get. And I don't know if you're aware of this one, but Lidl do a vitamin drink. It's green tea with vitamin. I think it's mandarin flavour. That is particularly good, to be honest. So I'm kind of on Evan's wavelength. If Suarez and Messi do this continuously, there must be something in that. It can't just be a flavour. It must actually be better for you. So listen, as much as I do partake in the Iron Brew, and again, if you have an Iron Brew in Scotland, it is better than there is. And that someone was saying that other day is very true. But nothing wrong with the health stuff. Making yourself feel better. Mentally, physically, it works. But I have to say, Grizz, before we get into it, I actually just a shout out to another video you done, because I've not seen you since the pool video at Big Six went out, when you were at when you done in America, and then you brought that out. I have to say there was a tremendous amount of swagger you went around that table with, Grizz, just of someone who's played pool and played in old Scottish bars and pubs to do it. You looked like you were in that category, so well played. I wanted to add
so if anybody hasn't, go check out the Big Six channel. Go and check out Mansion Report. There's a context behind the title of the show. And I don't want to give too much away. Maybe Conroy has given too much away. But it's worth watching. It's entertainment at its absolute finest. So shout out to the rest of the Big Six community as well. And thank you, Conroy, for the kind words. Talking of health drinks and making you feel good, and Iron Brew and, everything that makes us feel good. I mean, welcome Keith Ross. What a segue into someone who's actually reversing his age. He's making me sick. I met him probably on this X platform, formerly known as Twitter, probably about 7 years ago now, Keith. I think around 7 years ago. And you're reversing your age and you're making me sick and with envy and jealous. And what is the secret of your success? Because do not pick up a bottle of water, a glass of water, and say, this is the secret of my success, because you're wild.
Yeah. Well, the secret for my success is not watching Liverpool live yesterday. Yeah. I watched that 90 minutes back in the comfort of my own home, knowing the result, no stress. And overnight I woke up like this. Look at this.
It's so true. It's so true. Liverpool are aging us. But Keith watches it once he knows the result. People, over 110 of you guys already in here. Thank you so much for your support. We're back. We're live. Tuning in from wherever you are. Let us know. Smash the like. Subscribe if you haven't. Hassan Al-Jibri says, let's go, Grizz. What crazy weekend. Some mad results. Really? Was there? We'll get into it. MBA's in the building. My friend from Slough, Bilal, he says one of the best shows on the platform. Footballing IQ, that's me, plus emotions, that's Conroy. Redfellas is elite. Thank you very much, Bilal. Grizz is eating chicken wings right now. Nope, I'm not. I'm gonna, all these guys having a drink and talking about drinks, I'm actually gonna go and make myself a bottle of, how'd you make yourself a bottle? But I'm gonna pour myself a glass of Pepsi Max. Good morning. Manda says, good morning. Good morning to you as well. Hanji, big up the gang. Hit the like, show Anfield Road, and says, hi, Khanage. Hi, Mike Robin McConnell. I wonder if you're related to the new Academy starlet, you know. Did you watch the Arsenal game? Bits and bobs. None of our business, really. Just we got to do what we got to do. They got to do what they got to do. Big up, fellas. Panel of A-listers today. Get the lights up early. Hopefully we have another A-lister joining us very soon. Steve should be on his way. Well, hopefully he's on his way. Cavs, one of the A-listers is not with us. He's out and about. It is what it is. Just hit the like button. Felt nice. Everyone in the chat should try it. There you go. That's how he feels good. Good morning. Let us know where you're calling from. The crew. I'm checking in from the east coast of USA. Okay. Nice. Did you see Alonso and Leverkusen? We did indeed. We will be talking Alonso and Leverkusen to a lesser extent. And Ali just says, Xabi Ball with loads of fire emojis. PID is in the building. PIG is in the building. He says, big up G, smash the like for our future manager. Win over Bayern, you'll never walk alone. I love the way he gets all these emojis and the hearts and everything. PID is an absolute OG of the game. Let's get into business. Liverpool needed to make a return to winning ways, Evan. It's at that stage where it doesn't matter about performances. We just got to keep totaling up those points. But this was a game, me personally, I wanted to see a performance too. Alas, we didn't get that in the first half. Alas, injuries, flu, absentees made it difficult to put in the performance. Maybe some wanted substance over the result as well. So what did you make of the lineup when we heard that Alisson is out? How's that feeling when the big man is not between the sticks, when you find that out? Because I'm not going to lie, for me, it's scary.
Yeah, no, it's scary. It was scary when Adrian was our number 2, obviously, because he wasn't quite up to scratch. Then we got Kelleher as our number 2, and obviously he put together a season and a half of some incredible number 2 performances. Then Kelleher's stocks sort of began to drop within the last 12 months or so. It just, it's the nature of being a number 2. You're going to come in, you're not going to be as sharp as the number 1, so it was nice to see Kelleher sort of have an improved performance on what we've seen in the last 12 months. It never makes you feel good. Obviously, Alisson to blame last week for potentially for one of the goals, but you still Alisson still increases your chances of winning pretty dramatically. So there's really nothing more to say on that. In terms of the lineup, you're right, Grizz. It doesn't matter about performances. If you can find some chemistry and some partnerships that have been working together all season, then more power to us. But we haven't really had that luxury because we keep having players go down with like smaller injuries. Then players are going to international tournaments, and then players are coming back from long-term injuries. So we had a lack of rhythm, obviously, in the first half, and I think that showed. Endo fresh off the plane from fulfilling his international obligations. McAllister had really grown into the 6 role in recent months. I thought. Then he's taken out of the 6 role. He's not quite as effective. And then, of course, Trent is still looking significantly off match fitness. Obviously might still be carrying it a little bit. And then, of course, Andrew Robertson still working his way back to match fitness as well. So we have a lot of players who aren't fully fit. Got a player or two playing out of their usual position in the context of this season. So my first reaction when I saw the lineup, Grizz, is I'm like, we could still easily win this game by 3 goals, but it might not be fluid. It might not be Chelsea at home fluid, how we were in that game. Or you think of some of our other better performances this season. But we're in the business end of the title race. It's February. It's all about putting 3 points on the board. Nobody remembers how many unattractive performances Liverpool had from 2018 to 2021 because Liverpool were so great. But there was plenty of 1-0, 2-1 scrappy wins in there. Plenty of days where we were off it. Plenty of days where Origi was filling in. So the time for champagne football is over. Hoof it up to the forwards. Knock it down. Put the ball in the back of the net. Sean Dyche ball, if that's what
That's it. Now we were getting to the nature of our goals and sort of how we kind of just bludgeoned them into submission in the end. It wasn't pretty, Conroy. A return for your talisman, Robertson on the left and Trent on the right. To the original OG fullbacks of recent times. Felt good having them back in the team, starting Virgil, of course, and then, of course, the young Kwanzaa alongside him. Robertson and Trent, how did you feel about them? It's vital that for the run-in we get these, and obviously we'll get onto the Trent injury, but to start off this game, it was good to have them back, right?
No, absolutely, Grizz. I feel like it's been a bit weird with fullbacks as of late. When one's coming back, another one gets a knock or illness. It was at the weekend there, but Trent was obviously coming back for injury as well. So there's been a lot going on in that, especially the way we play. If you want to play inverted with Trent or you want just the kind of orthodox fullbacks bombing forward, it's a crucial part of the way we play. And to kind of have them get a game where they can both start, and as we're going to speak about Trent, and he only got 45 minutes, but I still think it's a good sign, and especially with Gomez's form has been helpful, and then even Costas getting on at the end for a little bit as well. I know to some people it's only the 96th minute he comes on, but for what the competitions we're in, we're really going to need all hands on deck.
Yeah.
So I think that is vital. And I think on the lineup, I think one of the comments said, due to what's happening with illnesses, suspensions, it kind of picks itself. I would agree with that. The only one I'd maybe add is, to be fair to Harvey, and I know we're going to speak about him more in depth in this show, he has been one of those players this season where I can't remember 2 performances where he's looked poor when he's came on. So that maybe goes against him a little bit, his age. But I think I do agree with that comment. I think due to the circumstances, it probably picks itself. But yeah, absolutely fullbacks for what we're in and the running, and it's not just the Premier League, all the competitions we're in, we really need as much as depth as we can get in that position.
Keith, moving up into midfield, we had the returning Wataru Endo from the Asia Cup. Surprised he was thrown straight back into the team ahead of, I guess, Harvey Elliott was probably the obvious, or maybe some of people's choice to start. But obviously Wataru Endo meant he goes into the 6, and then McAllister is moved up into the 8. Was you intrigued to see how that works out? Was you comfortable with it? Are you a fan of that?
So
I know I've asked you 4 or 5 questions, but you've been on holiday, so I'm going to get my money's worth.
I'll read it all off. So yeah, to the first point, was I intrigued by it? Yes, very intrigued by it, because I was intrigued to see how Wataru and McAllister, both 6s who tackle hard and play progressive passes, would work alongside each other. I actually thought in the first half, the way McAllister was adopted as a more of a further forward 8 probably puts to bed any real discussions at the moment that Klopp is going to be playing him anywhere further than 6.5, to be perfectly honest with you. Not his fault, doesn't get the opportunity, but clearly it didn't fit in that particular role in that first half. To your point about whether I was surprised to see Endo over Harvey, no. Reason being, I think at the moment Harvey is suffering from being a what's the word when people come off the bench?
Impact.
Impact player.
Super
Impact
sub.
player. He's suffering a lot from impact player. If you look at Harvey's best performances this season for Liverpool Football Club, they have come off the bench. When he started for Liverpool, I think he struggles to get into the game. Reason being is I find that when he's asked to do a disciplined job, which I suppose Klopp wanted felt Endo, McAllister, and Jones in the first half would do more of a disciplined job. I think he suffers as a result of that because he's both looking to be having to fill in for his fullback and protect his fullback at the same time, provide width and to provide something on that right hand side of the triangles. When he's given the option to come off the bench and given more of a free roam, which seems to be what happens, that's where I feel like he excels and he actually has the opportunity. He looks better when he's less disciplined and he's got other people do the work and he's tasked with go out there and try and win us a football game. So I would be surprised if we see Harvey Elliott start many more matches in the Premier League this season. Maybe in the Europa League he might, but I'm not too sure about it because I just think he has much more of an impact coming off the bench. So not surprised at all to see him start off the bench. I'm sure we'll go into more detail about what he did in the second half. But really was intrigued to see how this would balance between Endo, Curtis, and
McAllister.
In the back of my head, again, you've got to argue that what this is now the umpteenth iteration of a midfield three that we put together over the last month. So he had to accept some sort of rust going into it, but I was intrigued nonetheless.
I guess just very roughly and without getting into too much detail, the average positions have suggest that we tried going towards width in terms of we thought Burnley would play a low block and then we would try to attack them from the wing back situations. It didn't quite pan out. I don't know about you guys. I was very frustrated. I thought it was a sluggish opening, very slow. We couldn't progress through the lines. But then taking into consideration everything that we have just discussed in terms of so many positional changes, absentees, Trent playing as an orthodox wing-back almost since like 18 months he hasn't been playing there. Robertson playing almost as an orthodox winger. He hasn't been playing much there as well. And then obviously McAllister playing as a right-sided eight, I believe, in the first half, wasn't it? Again, not having played there much often. It all leads to lack of cohesion, not quite the smooth transition that we normally have or make. Is that fair to suggest that?
Yeah, I would think so. It's tough to critique anything that happened in the final third in the first half because we didn't do a good enough job of getting into the final third consistently. Specifically, just trying to get our midfielders to settle on the ball. When I think back to how we've played recently, played well in games we've really cooked, for lack of a better word. Chelsea, we were just, every triangle was available to us in our best games. And I'm going to point to a position. I'm going to point to the position rather than the player because it's unfair to critique the player. Like I said, Endo has just gotten off the plane. He's probably tired. He's thrust into the front lines, into what I believe to be the most difficult position in the entire sport. And it's just it didn't quite work. He wasn't press resistant. He wasn't really winning duels. He wasn't really covering the ground, putting out the fires. But specifically in our build-up, it was a bit of a return to last season in terms of how ineffective we were. And I want to give Arsenal plenty of credit for how they disrupted our build-up because they're a great team. They're great. In my opinion, John McKenzie from Tifo echoed this as well. I think Arsenal are the best out-of-possession team in the league, in my opinion. So I give Arsenal tons of credit for affecting our build-up and making us look a bit sluggish. But I think in this case, with all due respect to Burnley, I think we were just crap. I didn't think Burnley were particularly great at pressing. I look at the numbers; they're a decent pressing team for where they are on the table, but they're not incredible. We are athletically superior to them, even with rotational options forced into the lineup. So there wasn't really an excuse for us to be as poor as we were. But again, this is kind of the nature of the game. Personally, what I would have done, well, of course, hindsight is 2020. But as we were struggling in this phase, Grizz, what I was thinking, I was like, it's not the game for Endo. McAllister in the 6, Elliott should be starting. I guess Gravenberch felt something in the warm up, so he wasn't in consideration. But Harvey Elliott deserves, I think, some more starts. Absolutely. So I think that could have helped. You know, this is Harvey Elliott, very technical player, and obviously we'll get onto his contribution. But just a combination of a square peg in a round hole and a tired one at that, and that's why this position is so important, because against inferior opposition, they can hurt you if your 6 isn't having a good game, and I think that was hurting us significantly in the opening phase.
Yeah, I think in the opening phase, it's fair to say that, Conroy, coming to you, I thought Endo was sluggish. I mean, as expected, he's been away. But I don't think McAllister helped. I don't think Curtis Jones helped. I think Curtis Jones didn't help through instruction because he was playing his normal game, and whereas everyone else seemed to not be playing their normal game, if you know what I mean. For example, Trent wasn't playing his normal game. In terms of what he's been playing, I mean. I don't mean like his actual individual performance, but the role he's been playing. McAllister, not the role he's been playing. Robertson, not the role he's been playing. So it's not solely on Endo, but it was very apparent that we weren't able to go through the lines. We weren't able to go through the position. We weren't able to get the ball to our front three, who were the only ones that were playing or have been playing in their roles and their positions on a consistent basis. And obviously they go on to score 3 goals. Was you thinking, damn, Elliott should have started this? I think Evan's quite adamant. Keith's happy with him not starting. I was very surprised because this is not the Burnley that we're accustomed to. Do you remember we spoke about Burnley, for example? I'd be shocked, and Jürgen Klopp might go and pick him for Brentford away now. But I'll be shocked if Elliott was selected for Brentford away. But I thought he missed a trick. I thought, just like we criticised Jürgen Klopp for getting the selection wrong in the Arsenal game, I think he might have got it wrong to start with in this one as well.
Yeah, and I think, on Keith and Evan's points, I do get what Keith's saying, because to be fair, when you look at Elliott's best moments this season, it is coming off the bench, but I think you could relate that to a lot of times the way he analyses the game, and when he can come on in that kind of pocket in the right-hand side, he finds spaces, early crosses, looking for the forwards. He's been very impactful from that, so I do understand that. My original point as well, and I do tend to agree with Evan more that he should have started, is just because I think, and I do get the point that Elliott's not amazing from the bench, from the start. However, I do think he's done a lot right this season, that he warranted that opportunity compared to other players who've maybe started and it's just not, they've not really they've not had the same season he has. So there's agree. I get both Evan and Keith's points. For me, I probably would have started Elliott, just thinking about even in previous seasons, Bournemouth, when I think we won, was it 9-0 last season, started that game, impacted it, because you're against a team who is going to be brave like Burnley to a certain extent. They're not going to be like old Burnley, if you will. There would be space, there would be chances, because to be fair to them, they've been brave this season, which has led to a lot of criticism for company. But you would expect there would have been chances in that game for him to hurt the opposition from the start. So I probably would have went on that side. But it's one of them. I think it's a good point you said, Grizz. He probably did get it wrong, but because Arsenal's such a massive game and there's such scrutiny on it, because it's a 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday, and you've got really enough quality in your team overall to get the job, it probably doesn't get brought up as much. Like if you watch the highlights in Match of the Day, they don't even mention that. But I think that is a fair point. And I go back to what you said at the start. The lack of cohesion is massive as well. So let's say McAllister, who for me, and the guys might disagree, I still think his best position is a 8 on the left side going forward. But for the past 6 weeks and a lot of the season, he's played as a 6. So for him to suddenly, with these players he's not played with a exhausted Endo, and then Curtis Jones, and on top of that, as you said, Trent being more
a half-fit Trent, as it turns out.
Yeah, not forgetting that he's even half fit, not even the way, playing inverted, but playing like that. And then Robbo, again, when he's played recently, it has been more contained, not to really bomb up. So there was a lot in the mix that probably, as you've seen, that lack of cohesion it allowed us not to really break the lines, get the front three involved. And I think it's one or two things you can get away with it, but when you've got so many things,
Changes and issues, yeah.
That's why, and I know it sounds really cliche and obvious, but see, it's ironic this season because we have got through the competitions and our depth has improved. But in previous seasons, we used to go out the League Cup early because we just put a pool of players in the team. On paper, you think you should beat, a championship team away or whatever, but it doesn't always work like that because they've not played together. So for me, I think that was quite obvious in the first half. But as I've said as well, we're going to describe it. This season, the probably summary, we could probably in our hand maybe 5 to 7 great performances, and the rest has been about the results. And at this time in the season, as Evan mentioned, you're in the conversation. It was just about getting over the line, and that is what is the most important.
How many times have we said, if you're not playing well, Keith, if the transitions aren't fluid, if the passes aren't going to feet or ahead of the player, and everything seems a bit, it's not smooth. Nothing like a set piece to set you off. Nothing like a Diogo Jota header in the penalty area to set you off. Should have set us off because that's what happened. The returning Trent sends over a cross. Keeper. He's actually a brilliant shot stopper, this kid. This kid is a bloody good stop. One to keep an eye on. A bit erratic with his decision making. Jota's there. Jota sniffs a goal. Jota, that should have been the cue to a better performance.
But actually, I think if you take a couple steps back before that goal, I think that's when we started to discover where we could hurt Burnley. Because while I agree with what you're saying in terms of, okay, it's Burnley, it's this, that, and the other, I think it's worth remembering that the last team that finished second from bottom in the league, we lost to at Anfield. So beating these teams isn't exactly a foregone conclusion when Leeds done us dirty last season and beat us at Anfield. So took 3 points.
Boy, you've got receipts. You've got a big memory, haven't you? You haven't forgotten, have you? These awful results.
It's results, right? As everybody said. One thing I'll give Burnley their credit in that first half, and it's interesting because I've watched this after the result, it was probably easier for me to notice things more than when you usually watch it with emotion. Burnley were brave, right? One thing that I've said on this show before is I feel like teams, when Liverpool lose the football match, other teams feel a bit more confident to be like, you know what, all right, then we're going to press you high up the pitch. There was one situation where Burnley had 5 players across the halfway line in our area, pressing Van Dijk, Konza, and they're really trying to force mistakes out of us. And they were going for it in that first half. And what we kind of clocked, and fair play to Van Dijk, is Van Dijk plays almost like a long field diagonal to Trent Alexander-Arnold, who then knocks it off, gets the corner, but they start to find space with the more direct passes. Whereas before, when we first started the game, I felt like the players were discoordinated and be quite surprised that Burnley were up for it and they weren't going to sit back behind a line and try and counter-attack us. They were going to try and nick out the ball in our own area. So I think once we started to play those long balls, those long diagonals, and started to find space, that's when I thought, okay, we started to go into this. So from that, then obviously you win the corner. And look, it's amazing how many headers Diogo Jota scores. I think it blows my mind. You know what I mean? I think, I saw a stat, this was the first time Liverpool scored 3-headed goals in like 10 years.
Yeah.
Something like that, like some of the names I saw. So, to see Diogo Jota pop up with the header was brilliant. A wicked ball by Trent Alexander-Arnold. That's the one thing you can always say with Trent. Trent can be having the worst games. He can be off form. He can be, you could be discussing his whole entire play, but when he gets that connection right on that ball and he puts it into that area, there is nothing in the world that is going to stop anybody from stopping someone to pop up and get it. His always have a message on it. So wicked ball by Trent. And I thought, you're right, at that point, I thought this was the opportunity. I thought that was when we started to find our feet a little bit more and started to figure out Burnley a little bit more. And, I was expecting us to go on from there, but obviously it was one of those games where we would have to fight for it again, right? It was the nature of the beast. And
I've done a poll in the chat, and to some people's amusement, I've put Jones twice in the poll. Maybe I'm giving subliminal messages. I don't know. It's actually a fucked up, but I can't bother to redo it. So just vote. You know what I mean? And if you don't like the names, then just give me your own name in the chat. Leave your nominations for man of the match. While I was away, I think Conroy's lost connection. Has he, guys? I didn't see what happened there. Hopefully he'll be back in a little while. We take the lead. Guys, I've got your super chat saved, and we will be asking the panel any questions that you want. So don't worry. I'll see your super chats and I'll see your questions. Conroy, it was not Evan, I should say. Sorry, I beg your pardon. It wasn't the sudden injection of smooth, quick, fast attacking play, or even the calmness to kill the game completely. It was the opposite. Kind of Burnley was still kind of threatening. Kelleher makes a few good saves. We've been critical slightly of Kelleher, rightly so, but it was one of those games where he showed us he's actually a good keeper. It just, you need rhythm, you need confidence, you need all of these things that we talk about outfield players. It's no different for a goalkeeper. Let's not forget. And it looked like the Kelleher of old. He made very good one-on-one saves, but nothing he could do for that goal, right?
No, not really. It's an incredible header. To be fair, not too dissimilar to Virgil van Dijk's.
Yeah,
Like corner, similar area of the pitch, similar trajectory of the ball. I'm just gonna call it out as I see it. That's Hall of Shame effort from Diaz and Endo. Come on, guys, this is zonal marking.
Can we rewind a little bit to the Trent effort on the sideline? Or are we going to give him a pass because of the injury stuff? Because I thought that was feeble at the time. And he's done it too many times.
People pointed it out, absolutely. But we are so athletically superior to Burnley. They should not be troubling us from any set piece ever, as far as I'm concerned. So the fact that they did, the fact that he scores a header from so far away, I mean, he's 15 yards out or something, you know, I mean, he's acres away from the goal and it goes in. Nothing really Kelleher can do, but those are the ones that make me punch the air. And I think those moments are what made sort of the hardlining English commentators of old not receptive to zonal marking back in the day when Benitez brought it over from Valencia. Nowadays it's more of a hybrid thing. Nowadays the thing is you put your big redwood trees like in zone areas, and then you have the smaller guys do individual marking. So the fact that O'Shea is able to ghost in between Endo and Diaz, and neither of them do put up any sort of contest, that's unacceptable, and that's an awkward film session the next day. You can bet that's Klopp, both in halftime team talk and when they're watching film, probably at some point today. He had some thoughts about that, I'm sure. They don't need to be told that. They don't need to be told that that wasn't good enough. But yeah, just it was a tough first half for Wataru Endo, I thought. Credit to Dara O'Shea. I need to I need to give him his flowers because we talk about Liverpool players a lot in the show, rightfully so, but you have to shout out the opposition. Burnley have struggled defensively, obviously, but I thought Dara O'Shea, just across the season, for me, he looks like a player who could play up a level. I'm kind of impressed by Dara O'Shea. I think he's a good player.
I think so too. That's a great spot. Was he the one? Remind me, guys, because I haven't watched it much back on the replays. Was he the one who outpaced? Was it no? Was it not? I know you're talking about the shithousery where he put the ball back on the pitch and got a yellow card.
The guy who kept Nunez locked down in that 1v1 situation, that was their new signing, Maxime Esteve.
Okay.
French guy from Montpellier, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah, but
you're on mute. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Something to mention, and be interesting later when we have this discussion about the Xabi Alonso incident and him coming in is if you just go back just ever so slightly, right? Trent has the ball and he just kicks it forward, right? He just almost tries to play like a first-time pass to Nunez. Like he's in his own half. He tries to like half volley it in the air. It gets intercepted by the guy you were speaking about. He gets the ball, plays the pass. Odegaard runs at them, plays it in, goes for a corner, goal. I'll be interested to know, sometimes is that not a symptom of what makes us great, is that we are at times are so direct as a football team. We invite counterattacks for no reason whatsoever. Because at that point that Trent gets the ball, there's 4 Liverpool players around him. You can take the ball down, pass it around, and then look after the ball. I'm wondering if Xabi Alonso, it'll be an interesting question for later for the pub as well, is would there be a difference? Is there time for a change in the way that Liverpool Football Club play football, in the build-up play? And are we too direct as a football team in a Premier League that invites situations that end up with a goal in the corner? That's open to transition a lot. And that's how a lot of the times we concede goals.
That's an amazing question. I think that's a whole show in itself. And we will hopefully try to get you all guys on a show where we speak about that, because that is quite a in-depth question, man. I don't think we've got enough time to answer that, but thanks, Keith, for that anyway, because that is quite the question. Look, yeah, don't worry. I've got your private message, Evan. You get people like that. It's fun. It's all fun and games. If he continues, I'll sort him out. We've got eyes, we've got ops, we've got mods. Don't worry. Where were we? Half time, I guess. Comes to half time, Conray. I think. Well, I don't know. What was your thoughts? I don't want to give you my thoughts. What was your thoughts at half time? What changes need to be made? Because certainly at 1-1, it was a record crowd, 60,000 in there. It just felt like a Saturday 3 p.m. against Burnley game. It just didn't feel like the game that it should have been the game that we needed after Arsenal, just to get the confidence boosting. 3-0, 3-1 win, which obviously it ended up in. But it just, we needed something to get up for, or something. Did you see anything in the subs that thought we need to do this ASAP straight away? Or did you just think all of these things that we've talked about, give them a 45 minutes to just, what's the word? Cobwebs, shake off the cobwebs, and they'll come good in the second half? What was your thoughts?
I think there's a bit of that as well, Grizz. I just think because of the quality we've got, even if it took a bit in the second half, there'd be enough there to overcome Burnley. But again, as I previously mentioned about the Elliott sub as well, like Keith hit the nail on the head earlier, that Elliott has made such an impact in games, and we're going to talk about what he done, but in those spaces, like just kind of the half space, the pocket, just on the right-hand side, against a team like against Burnley in this situation, I think he's the ideal to come on to do that, because he and again, you might bring him on with 60 minutes to go, but because Trent is illness, injury, not 100%, Klopp's went, and we spoke about his tactical decision making during games this year. He's probably thought we need a change, a bit of an impact. It makes sense to just pull the trigger on that now, because Trent's going to have to come off anyway. So I thought that was quite good decision making. I felt, to me, sometimes it does annoy me when it's like it's a Burnley at home thing, because to be perfectly honest, we shouldn't have to rely on a crowd anyway. I'm not saying that. Professional footballers are paid to do a job. They should be able to do a job to the best of their ability. However, sometimes it's like we've said all season, we want more 3 p.m. kickoffs. So when it comes, make the most of it. I think I've said all this season that the kind of scheduling has helped us a little bit from bad results in the next game, if you know what I mean. And I feel like this was an ideal game after the performance last week. So we had to make the most of it. So I think Elliott coming on, and then just there's enough quality in that team, especially in the attacking depth as well, like I've said throughout the season, to even if you're struggling in games to the 60th minute, we've got enough there to hurt teams in the last 20, like we've done. We're the top goal scorers, aren't we, in the last 10 minutes this year, or whatever the stat is. So I felt like we would get there. Can I just add though as well, because I got the Wi-Fi cut out, Kelleher's save in the first half and the one we're going to speak about in the second half is Alisson-esque. It's like, not diving in. Actually, we talk about allowing the forward to put the pressure on the striker coming in to pick a spot, make yourself big. Thought they were two excellent saves. That reminded me of Alisson. So shout out to Kelleher. I know he's been a bit up and down. He's had good performances, bad performances as of late. But as Evan said, it cannot be easy to be a second keeper because you're getting a small sample size. So you literally have one game to come in and perform. And if you don't, you're not getting a game for 10 games, if that. So I think it's a difficult position. So he done very well. And just the other thing I meant to add as well, on set pieces, that is a kryptonite for Burnley, if you will. I think they're right up there for conceding, and the fact they conceded 2 in this game again. So even in that aspect, as much as we all moan about we should do better from set pieces, we always seem to be up there for goals scored from them, even though it seems to be a enigma to a certain extent, because we get so frustrated with the amount of corners that hit the first man. So just wanted to add that there's obviously been a bit of work on that, looking at the type of corners we've done, the areas we hit, because they are quite poor at defending from there. But yeah, I think the Elliott sub was good decision making from Klopp.
Half-time comes in the game, half-time comes in the show, and of course it's a chance to remind you guys about our channel sponsors. Don't forget to go and check out your futcard.com. Metal Players Art, Metal Player Moments Art, Metal Gamer Prints, you name it, create your own card, they do it all. These are the people to go to. Check out some of their illustrations. Look at some of these beauties. We have, of course, not only Liverpool players, but any player that you want. You can have some of the old stars, some of the current stars, and some of the legends of the Premier League itself. Go and check them out. They do some amazing prints, amazing stuff. Look at these. Wow, that's a blast from the past. There's a blast from the future, I guess. And look at this man. We're going to miss him, aren't we? We're going to miss him. Look at this. I haven't seen this one before. Luis Diaz. Check that out. Wow, how cool is Luis Diaz looking there? I think we're going to speak about Luis Diaz in a minute as well. But yeah, go check them out, guys. If you type in Red Fellas, you get 15% discount on top of everything else as well. Any card you want. They also do banners and prints as well. Anything you want printed on that banner, they are your people. Yourfutcard.com. Type in Red Fellas for 15% off. Let them know that we've sent you, because that just makes us feel good and makes our sponsors feel good as well. But yeah, half time, Keith, your super sub, Lionel Messi, because he becomes Lionel Messi when he comes on as a sub. Trent goes off. We're shocked. We think, is it tactically he was so poor, or is it injury related? Oh no, it's injury related. And what happens? I mean, I don't know about you guys. I thought Endo would be the most obvious player to go right back. McAllister drop into the 6, and then Elliott and Jones. What the fuck do we know? Curtis Jones goes to right back. McAllister drops deeper with Endo forming a double pivot, and Harvey Elliott is given the freedom of Anfield to go and weave his magic. That was the turning point, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Tactical masterclass by Jürgen, as far as I'm concerned. You would have thought he would have tried to pigeonhole one of the defensive midfielders into right back, and instead he sacrifices Curtis Jones in effect. But by doing so, it kind of done a few things. I think, first of all, McAllister and Endo in the double pivot, I'm very intrigued, because McAllister on the left-hand side and Endo on the right-hand side, them two were winning tackles and counter-pressing in the second half to the point where we controlled the entire game, in my opinion. Other than the 2 chances Burnley had, which kind of came from, poor clearances from Konza, to be perfectly honest, I don't think Burnley had either the legs or the fighting power to deal with that double pivot, and I was very impressed. And what I was really interested in is the fact that Klopp even gave Harvey Elliott this free role in the first place, because he's always looking to have 3 midfielders disciplined, but he almost said you can be whatever you want to be. And Harvey Elliott didn't have to focus on covering for Curtis Jones as much. Yet off the ball press, of course, he was still, running his little socks off, pressing people at will. But on the ball and when we had possession, he was actually able to pop up in between the lines. At times, it looked like a 4-2-4. At times, it looked like a 4-2-1-3. But most importantly, Harvey Elliott was given the room, and that's his best position. I've seen him do it for England. At England, he gets that free role for the under-21s. I know it's a different style of football, but he seems to come back and people show us his goals he scores, these amazing runs he goes on, etc. Because that is his best position, is when he's given that kind of free reins to be the creative and unlock the key. He's got wicked technique in his crosses with his left foot. He strikes the ball really, really well. I just let him have that position more often. Forget about right wing. He's never going to be a right forward in the modern day. We tried that during Salah's. I think we tried that for a game. Didn't work out. It's okay. Doesn't matter. We know what his best position is. Again, another question that could be for another day. What will a different manager do with a talent like Harvey Elliott? Will be very intriguing to see, because clearly there's going to be different tactics and different ways of seeing things. And what Harvey Elliott brings to the team, forget about his defensive work. Again, forget that. He's not going to win headers. One of the chances Burnley had when Konza clears the ball, the second ball, Harvey Elliott's never going to win that header. You know, it's not his game. Let him play the game that he should be playing, which is further up the field. And because of that, it made us much more controlled, first of all, I thought, because I thought between Harvey, Curtis, Endo and McAllister, they're very good at passing the ball in between tight spaces. They're not as direct, so they're not trying to force it all the time. They, at times they'll cut it back, they'll progress the ball slightly. This allowed us to get up the pitch a little bit more than we did in the first half. But yeah, most important of all is their game intelligence in that possession. And shout out to Curtis Jones. He didn't put a foot wrong at right back.
Brilliant segue, because Mr. Soccer God, I want to present to you Curtis Jones. Where are we? We are here. Curtis Jones was moved to fullback. A, did you see that coming? B, just going through his basic numbers, nothing overly complicated, Evan. I know you can get really complicated and educate us in many stats, but even just looking at the basic stats, someone who's got a 90% accuracy, 3 key passes, look at his dribble success 1.5, ground duels, half of his ground duels won his own aerial, won his aerial duel. This guy is just getting better and better and maturer, which is the key part, because he's always had the talent, but now his footballing maturity is coming to the fore to such an extent. Jürgen Klopp decides to put him right back, Evan, in the famous Trent Alexander position, not rolled, because he didn't play inverted. Some words on Curtis Jones, please, if you may.
After the match yesterday, I tweeted, Curtis Jones is one of the most skilled players to ever play for the club. Some people took that as Curtis Jones is one of the best players to ever play for the club. Obviously, people need to read a little bit better, but I'm not here to critique critical thinking as much as I would like to. Curtis Jones, and just in terms of skill, eyes in the back of his head, close control, press resistance, eye for a pass, just how hard it is to get Curtis Jones to concede possession of his own will. That is a skill set that is so rare, it automatically puts him in that category as one of the most skilled players to ever play for the club. I believe that. I'll die on that hill happily. Obviously, 10 years from now, we hope to look back and call Curtis Jones one of the best players to ever play for the club, because his skill took him that far. He's always had it. He's always had the X factor. If you couldn't see it before, I don't know what to tell you. It's not too late to buy stocks now, because he just turned 23 last week. Important to remember.
Very.
I don't know if I'm imagining it. I don't know if I dreamt it, but I feel like Curtis Jones has played right back before in the senior team for a match or two. I
do recall him playing in a League Cup game. Someone will remember. It was definitely one of the cup games, and he did play
right back before. He has in the senior team. He definitely has. Curtis, he's just going from strength to strength. I mean, right now, what is he? Is he the 5th name on the team sheet? That's saying something in a Premier League 11 full of first ballot Hall of Famers. That's saying something, being the 5th name on this particular team sheet. He makes us look like ourselves. I think neck and neck. I think he's the best midfielder at the club currently with Alexis McAllister. That's how highly I'd rate Curtis Jones. And the highest compliment I could pay to Curtis Jones, Grizz, just in the isolation of that 90 minutes, because I'm obviously talking about Curtis Jones in the wider spectrum. The biggest compliment I can give him in that game is that as soon as I saw he went to right back, I was like, oh, that's sound. That's fine. That's fine. I have so much time and patience and trust in Curtis Jones, because again, his big thing is I'm not going to concede the ball stupidly. That is
I love that.
Such an invaluable trait. Kept Genie Wijnaldum in one of the greatest teams the sport has ever assembled for a few years, despite Wijnaldum having some obvious limitations that we all talked about at the time. But press resistance, ball retention, these are crucial skills. This is why every team in the country wants Curtis Jones. This is why Curtis Jones improves every single team in the country. I think Curtis Jones starts for every team in the country. If I'm being quite honest, I think they would all take him. I think Guardiola would bite your arm off to the elbow. I think Arteta would bite your arm off to the elbow to have Curtis Jones in their team.
He's most certainly a Pep Guardiola type player. He is absolutely a Pep Guardiola player. Yes,
he absolutely is. Listen, this is just how I feel. This is how rival fans view him too. I know I'm getting off topic of the match here, Grizz, but I want to say
there was a very strategic thinking behind my coming to you, to Curtis, because I know you feel very passionate, and so carry on, sir. Carry on. Everybody likes Curtis Jones prop.
The disparity between how our fan base views Curtis Jones and how rival fan bases view Curtis Jones is interesting. Rival fans, especially all the big popular accounts, you've seen them, they all think Curtis Jones is amazing. And they thought that even before Curtis Jones caught fire in the last 12 months. Even back when Curtis Jones wasn't, the stocks, Curtis Jones is a Henderson Genie hybrid. I can see what he's saying. Even before Curtis Jones stocks really ascended in 12 months ago, rival fans were oohing and awing over Curtis Jones. They saw something that plenty in our fan base didn't see. And all of them right now would welcome Curtis Jones in with open arms. When I see rival fans making their ideal England 11s for the Euros this summer, which I had to remind myself is happening, Curtis Jones is in a lot of England starting 11s. Who could argue with it? Apart from Jude Bellingham, is there an English midfielder having a better season than Curtis Jones in that particular position? I'm not going to compare him to Declan Rice because that's a different department of midfield. But Curtis Jones, he just goes from strength to strength. We could have a whole show on Curtis Jones and what he's done for his future in the previous year. So yeah, long story short, he goes to right back. I don't care because Curtis Jones is amazing. You can play Curtis Jones at center back, and I still wouldn't even get that squeamish.
We have liftoff. I think in terms of my speaker and sound, for many a week, people are telling me they can't hear me. Now they're saying Grizz, your speaker is extra loud. I can't win with you guys. Please let me know how I'm sounding now. I'll move away from it and adjust, and accordingly, please let me know. Evan, we have people that love you with your segment on Curtis Jones. Namely Ziauddin, who says Evan is speaking facts. So,
thank you.
Props to you. After some initial, let's say, less inspiring messages. I sound fine. Excellent. Keith Cross, I'll come to you for the second goal scorer. And the reason why I come to you is because you put out a tweet about a certain Luis. Has he got a middle name, guys? If he has, Luis, we call him Luis Lucho Diaz. And even if he has, I probably won't pronounce it right. So let's play it safe by just calling him Lucho. Okay. Luis Fernando Diaz. I can do Fernando. No problem. We can go there. Mr. Keith Cross, your views on Luis Diaz's performance. He's been fine in terms of output. He's been excellent in terms of output, especially since Mohamed Salah's been away. Everything's been good. Some, obviously, as usual, fan bases have differing opinions. So before I go with my hot take on Luis Diaz moving forward and going forward, your assessment and what was the basis and context behind your tweet, and of course some outrage as a result of it as well.
Well, it definitely caught on fire, but probably not for the reasons I was hoping, to be honest. My hot take on Luis Diaz is my take on Luis Diaz is I thought he was arguably one of our best players yesterday. I thought in terms of driving the attack forwards, the counter press, I thought he was brilliant off the ball. I thought it was his counter press that kind of started to lead to errors before our corner, which led to the first goal. And I thought just generally, he was starting to kind of drive us forward. The thing is again, I caveat all this by the fact that I watched this game after the results. And so if I'd watched this game during like live, basically, I could share people's frustrations. And the reason being is sometimes with Luis Diaz, I feel like what we saw when he first burst onto the scene at Liverpool is not what we see today. And it can become quite frustrating in games that get a bit nervy when it's 1-1, that you want him to do something out of nothing, something super special, and it's not happening. And it grows frustration to the point where you're just thinking, wow, could a Carvastelia do something better in that position? Could I don't know, Rafa Leao do something? Is he more explosive in that particular position? And we start daydreaming about other wide forwards that could probably do a better job than Luis Diaz. I personally felt like when he came into our squad initially, I wanted him to tone down, always trying to take his man on every 5 minutes. I thought at times we lost the ball. And the thing with Liverpool is due to the style of play, when we get caught in transition, we get caught in transition, right? We're quite an aggressive team when we're going forward. So I wanted him to be a little bit smarter with the ball, a little bit protectable, at least get us up the pitch. I thought he did that in abundance against Burnley. Again, actually, let's talk about the chance. There was a particular chance that everybody is focused on. Mm-hmm. I know he scored the goal. I'll go to score for a sec, but there was a particular chance. He had the ball.
I think the man above you highlighted that, and he's the instigator of the slander
of the saga. Yeah, the king of the saga. No, look. Again, watching it in different eyes, right? So I knew this chance was coming because I'd seen all the clips. I'd seen the discussion. And you know what? To be honest with you, yes, you're right? 9 out of 10's time, Luis Diaz has the ball. He should just play a one-time pass to Darwin Nunez, and then Darwin Nunez will probably hit the bar. What he did instead was he kind of delayed it. He delayed it a little bit. I will give him the benefit of the doubt because I think he thinks Darwin Nunez is offsides in the position he's in, and he didn't want to take that risk. He takes it back. He passes Diogo Jota, and Diogo Jota bends it, and Trafford makes a decent save. If Diogo Jota bends that into the corner and he scores, we're not even talking about that said chance that everybody's kind of really kind of brought the furor on. But back to Diaz's performance. I thought the goal itself, it was a brave goal. And he does that a lot for Liverpool, by the way. He does that a lot. He really does put his body on the line to score goals. It's not the first time this season where he's just kind of put his head in.
Becoming very Sadio Mane-esque in those kind of situations where, however, whatever, the ball must end up in the back of the net.
100%. He was brave, and it was a great run as well because when Harvey Elliott first gets that ball, he's wide right. Diaz is taking up the position in the middle. He makes that run across the box. He sees the opportunity, puts his head where and gets the crucial goal. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Luis Diaz has had the best season this season. Far from it. He's had his own troubles. He's had his injury issues. Does he look like the player he once was in terms of like his explosiveness, his dynamism, the way he dribbles? Probably not because of the severity of the injury, but he is damn effective. And it's surprising that it's such a big debate when he's probably been his most effective period for Liverpool this season has been the last month and a half, really, when you look at it. When you look at his performances, when you look at his output, he has been really, really effective. He was effective against Arsenal, make no bones about it. He wasn't the best performance in the world. I know we didn't play well, but he did fight for that equalizer, right? And it could have been a whole different game had other stuff not happened, and he makes that happen. Again, he gets the crucial goal here. The
winner, that takes us. Sorry,
So could we eventually go and sell him to Saudi Arabia and do this, that, and the other, and then have to blood in a new wide forward? And then are they going to be as effective both off the ball and on the ball? That remains to be seen. But I think it's a bit harsh to start writing Luis Diaz out of this Liverpool squad at the moment?
I'll open the floor to Evan and Conroy. My hot take on Luis Diaz is and again, we don't know because it's a small sample size, but a lot of people are sort of putting forward this notion that he seems to have lost a yard of pace and he's not taking on his fullbacks as much. Is very one-dimensional. There was many a time where he got the ball and he cut inside. I actually think his range of passing is brilliant. I think he's got an eye for a pass. We know that the highlighted incident wasn't a great example of that, but I actually think his playmaking ability is quite high, very good. Conroy, I think he's got an eye for a goal, very much like Jota, in terms of course, he's not as ruthless and efficient as Jota, but I like him in and around that box. There's been many a time where his reactions are very Inzaghi-like. So take away Inzaghi was nothing like Luis Diaz before people start saying, oh my God, did you see Redfellas Sunday? He compared Luis Diaz to Inzaghi. No. What I mean, I'm talking about just those incidents where the ball is in and around the penalty area and he kind of knows where it's going to bounce and he kind of knows the finish required. We take you back to the West Ham goal. Was it the overhead kick or the kind of scissor kick he does? We go back to the Luton equalizer, the header, the instinctive header. So many finishes we've seen this season. His overall performances, as Keith says, are not like the Luis Diaz of Porto, cutting in, going outside, bamboozling the fullback. They're very much like how we probably saw Sadio Mane end up. So Sadio Mane ends up playing quite centrally. Am I making any form of sense to you guys? Do you see a future there? Or no? Let's keep him on the wing. Let's give him time. Let him get back to his system, his rhythm. And if not, then we'll bring someone else in.
Yeah, well, for me, Grizz, I think we've already mentioned this season. Diaz last season, one of his biggest issues was not coming centrally like Mane did. Not when he played in the centre, when he played on the wing. Mane scored a lot of goals like that when he played on the wing because he ran in the centre. Obviously, with Firmino being there creating the space, but there's a lot of striker-esque goals Mane scored, not when he was number 9. So that was one of Diaz's biggest issues last season. So when maybe you look at like, oh, he's beating a man, that's great, but his link up with the other teammates was not good enough, and you could see that cohesion wasn't there. So that's been one of his biggest positives this season, as he scored goals like that he has before, by the way. So let's not forget that Diaz had, I think, the most headed goals in Portugal before we signed him. So let's not think he's a guy who scored 2 goals, 3 goals. This is a guy who has had maybe not prolific spells, but I think it was like maybe it was number 1 or second in most headed goals. He is a good header of the ball. That's been I think that's in one of the reasons we signed him as well. I think as well, when you sign a player, other teams do not have as much analysis of that player as well. I think people really underestimate the amount of money and staffing that is in each Premier League football team. There is literally set piece coaches now. There is an Arsenal coach whose job is to improve the morale of players. We've all seen the documentary. Very lucky man, because that is his job. That is his job. So let's not underestimate. A lot of football fans are working class, but football teams, that is not the case. They have got money to burn. So when it comes to analysing opponents, of course Diaz is going to get more space, like in the cup final. I mean, it's against Chalobah, so that's maybe not the best example, but people are not highlighting his strengths and weaknesses. But once you do 6 months in this country, there's literally someone's job will be to highlight the opponent's weaknesses and defend to stop that. It's like anything. It's like, as Keith always says about, and not to talk about, but even Klopp and Guardiola, eventually, if you have a tactic, it will get found out eventually. That's why you have to keep evolving. And I think it's like that as players. Like we talk about Salah's playmaking's improved a lot because he can drop into spaces and create now because he's maybe can't beat as many men because he's speed. It's like that for players. It's like that for coaches, but it's also like that for clubs because they're constantly, and they have got money to burn, believe me. So that was always going to happen to Diaz. The concern with me is he had to get better at linking up with the team and not going on one-man missions because that's not football. Like, as much though, as I say, in games when the full team's poor, it's great to have that ability to change a game out of individual brilliance. But Manchester United finished fourth a couple of seasons, second a couple of seasons ago because of individual moments through Rashford of like, your team needs to be better than that. So I think that is positive for Diaz, and I think he'll continue to improve. Do I think he's had a great season? Definitely not. But to be fair, the guy has had a lot happening to him this season. I think the fact that he's even playing right now is kind of remarkable, to be honest. We are humans, and to be honest, it's quite crazy. Was it 2 months ago or even less than that his family was kidnapped? So I can't relate to that. I have no idea what that feels like. So the fact that he's even scoring and on the pitch is kind of amazing, to be honest.
No, absolutely. We absolutely. Sorry, Conor.
No. So absolutely good. I just meant to say that I think I see a lot of positives with him, and I think we need to stop comparing him to Mane, because Mane for me is underrated when it comes to Premier League history. This is a guy who smashed that right wing for Liverpool, then moved to left wing to accommodate Salah and smashed it there as well, scored goals but took men on, had every facet. Maybe not say he was a unicorn as Evan would say to some players, but Mane is right up there. Like, I don't think anyone's ever going to hit that level to have that much strength, to be such a goal scorer, but also be terrifying on the wing. I just don't know if you're ever going to find that. What I think we've got with Diaz is someone who can do a lot of that, but maybe not the full Mane replacement. So to get rid of him, I think would be a bit foolish right now, because the fact that he's been effective, as Keith said, that is one of the biggest things with wingers, that they maybe do not add those stats and those important moments. They maybe look good in the game, but they're not really game-changing. And I think Diaz got the potential. So sorry to go on there. I just think it's a bit crazy that he's even playing with situations. So I think we've got to be a bit fair on that.
No, some great points about Sadio Mane. About Luis Diaz and Sadio Mane. In no way, shape or form are we comparing the two, because of the reasons Conroy gave. Sadio Mane is a Premier League legend. Not only a Liverpool legend, but a Premier League legend. An absolute... If you could make sort of form or Jürgen Klopp forward stroke attacker, it would be Sadio Mane. Defensively magnificent, strong as an ox, working hard, attitude, desire, hunger, abundance of skill, everything, ball striking, left foot, right foot, headers. So Sadio Mane. But Luis Diaz, your assessment of Luis Diaz's overall performance, and obviously he gets us into the goal. And I don't know if it's a hot take. Maybe you guys were thinking it too, or maybe you guys are thinking, no, Grizz, just stick to wearing silly hats. I don't know. Let me know what you think.
Your hats aren't silly, by the way, Grizz. Everybody
Thank
loves
you.
the hat.
Thank you.
We as a fan base, maybe I shouldn't say we, maybe every fan base does this, but we have this unhealthy habit of setting ridiculous bars for new players to live up to. Like Henderson being the guy who had to take over for Gerrard as captain, with horrible shoes to try to fill, both as a leader and a player, pretty much impossible. Sadio Mane, this is a Premier League Hall of Famer, likely first ballot, likely first year he's eligible, he'll get in. He like the comment that Grizz put up, I've lost it now. I think NBA, I want to put it up again because I'm gonna reference it. Mane was unique. He went both sides, brilliant in the press and defensively, plus very good aerially. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with this. It's impressive. It's impressive when we remember that Mane's first full season at Liverpool was on the right wing to accommodate Coutinho on the left. One of the best defensive forwards you ever likely to have. He would do great in a defensive side that had to chase the ball all day. He would be a great winger for that, and he did it pretty well for Southampton. The aerial part is what makes him special, because I always said that at his peak, what made Mane special was like he was two players in one. He was the high-flying inverted winger who would cut inside, shoot on his right foot, or take you to the byline, whichever he felt like doing, because he was going to get separation from his fullback every single time. And also he could go centrally into the 6-yard box and put away Trent crosses for fun, and he could outjump a center back. He might. I mean, Sadio Mane, in my opinion, is the purest athlete to ever play for Liverpool. I don't think that's a hot take at all. This is Sadio Mane we're talking about. One of the greatest players in the club's history, one of the greatest players in the league's history, one of the greatest wingers of the generation. At his peak, physically, nobody could touch him. He was stronger than a fullback, faster than most fullbacks, and he could outjump a center back. So that is a ridiculous bar to hold Luis Diaz to, right? That's a ridiculous standard to hold anyone to, and we would be foolish to ever think we are likely to see a better left winger for Liverpool. I'm just being real. There is a strong likelihood that that's the best left winger Liverpool will ever have. So Luis Diaz, talking specifically on him, there has been a physical drop off. He had a bad injury. Then we perhaps were guilty of hustling him back too quickly, and he got re-injured again. Then he had the personal issues in his life. Thank goodness those are behind him now. Hopefully he and his family are recovering mentally from that. That's an event that takes years of time and professional help to get over. Things aren't ever really the same after such a traumatic experience. So all these things are actively working against him. The credit I will give Luis Diaz, because I'm in agreement with these guys. I don't think he's had a good season, but he gives you 100% for 100% of the game. I see no drop off in effort from Luis Diaz in the first minute to the 98th minute, because we play a lot of 98th minutes now. It's just how it works. So it's hard to berate Luis Diaz. But we kind of have to be objective. I don't personally see a reason why Cody Gakpo isn't mixed in a little bit more. Just in terms of a left wing role. Obviously that's a different type of player. He brings a different type of skill set. But Luis Diaz, he's a good presser, but not quite. Not only is he not the physical specimen Mane was, and again, no one is ever likely to be, but he's not at the same physical level he was when he spent his first 7 to 8 months at Liverpool. So it's tough. I would like to see Gakpo mixed in a little bit more. That would be ideal for me. Diaz, I tweeted, you referenced it, Grizz. I spoke about the isolated incident where he definitely should have slid Nunez, and he had all day to do it. Would have been a one-on-one. Not saying that Nunez would have scored it, but he definitely.
As Keith says, he would hit the bar.
Even if it's 36-year-old Kolo Touré running in on goal, you got to play Kolo Touré in there. You just got to do it. You got to do it. But yeah, I expressed my frustration at that isolated incident on Twitter, and of course, everybody in the comments used that as a springboard to talk about how he's not good enough and he needs to bring his head up when he's dribbling, and we should be moving on from him in the summer. And I end up being the face of that agenda, and that's annoying, but that's just
it's just not you. It's just not you. It's just not you. People need to recognize.
Not my style.
Yeah.
Listen, we can have all these conversations about Luis Diaz's future and all these things like in the summer, but it's about getting 3 points. I'm just trying to win. We can talk about the future later. In fact, none of us want to talk about the future. The future is a very painful place for Liverpool fans
right now.
Nobody's trying to talk about that. I'll talk about the here and now, and in the here and now, Luis Diaz should have passed it to Darwin Nunez. Let's save the should we move on from him talk for the summer, when everything is going to change, for better or for worse, likely worse. But Luis Diaz, no animosity on my end. Could be playing better. I like what we get out of him, given all the context that we've afforded him. That being said, I'm still a Cody Gakpo sympathizer and admirer, so I would like to see him mixed in a little bit more, because I think Cody Gakpo, since signing for Liverpool, keeping in mind how crap we were when we signed Cody Gakpo has been a huge net positive on the team, in my opinion. So I think he's earned some game time wherever it appears in the front three.
Usually we have brilliant segues and we don't even know we're segueing into. But Evan's pissed on my chips or my parade. He may not get either reference, but it's a fun reference. Because I was going to dip into the future of Liverpool, but I will just slightly delay that for a couple of minutes. So because Evan said, let's not talk about the future, let's talk about the present. And the present now, Keith Cross, is we've been 1 hour 14 minutes and we haven't mentioned Darwin Nunez. We haven't mentioned Darwin Nunez on a Red Fella show. Wow, amazing. I think that's a record first. But Darwin Nunez scores his goal at Anfield. Elliott with another beautiful assist. How many times have we seen him deliver exquisite exquisite crosses into the box, and this culminates in a brilliant header. It reminded me of gone now, it's gone, but it reminded me of another great header of the ball. But Nunez deserved that for his work rate, desire. He's involved in everything as per, but this time he tops off with a goal. Happy for him, right?
It's great that we've come to this part of the show to talk about Darwin Nunez, because it means that he didn't spend the game missing 5 gilt-edged opportunities, hitting the bar several times. Arguably, that was probably his second chance.
He didn't get many chances, did he, this time round? Did he, guys? I think one other brilliant save or something like that really hit at the keeper.
For one of them.
Oh,
yeah. Them played that ball when he shot it straight at the keeper. Other than that, very good.
Karl-Heinz Riedler was the goal I'm referencing. Guys, Karl-Heinz Riedler. Go on YouTube, Karl-Heinz Riedler's headers. Sorry, Keith.
Yeah. Also, like I said, I like the Lucho Garcia reference as well. Juventus, I believe it was Juventus header. Brilliant goal. I mean, Nunez had a brilliant game in doing things off the ball. Again, he works his socks off, and he's such an outlet. This is the thing, when you play anybody, any team, whether they're sitting deep, whether they want to counter press you, whatever, we just need a bit of an outlet. And I think this season, Mo Salah being out for now, as long as he's been out, has been a bit of a concern, because we've not had much of an outlet. Salah's such an outlet when he gets the ball at his feet, or when he's making runs in behind. He's just not been there. He's not been available. So to have Darwin Nunez, arguably he is. What was this say? I think he has risen to expectations. I mean, let's take a step back here. And what we're really seeing, we're seeing a future without Mo Salah in our front three, right? This is what we've seen now, and we're in February. And so far, Darwin Nunez has stepped up to the plate as probably being the main man to take on the responsibilities. Now, has he scored the goals that Salah would have scored? Probably not. Salah probably would have scored half of them, but it's been shared around with Jota as well and stuff like that. But I think in terms of just being an outlet and being available, making things happen and stuff out of nothing, because that was a header out of nothing. It was a great cross by Harvey Elliott, but it still needed to be a world-class header.
Yeah, it wasn't one of those crosses that just needed a touch. He had to kind of direction and power. Yeah. Do that again, because I like the whiff when you're like, why didn't your hair move? Do that. Why didn't your hair move?
How thick is your hair, Keith? My God.
It lives here. I don't even have products at the moment. It just lives here.
But see on the cross, guys, maybe I was thinking it's a bit, I think that's a good point. I think the cross is like it shows the confidence in Elliott, because he doesn't whip it. It's like, it is kind of, but it's more like lofty to the inside of his foot, if you know what I mean. It's like, he knows exactly where he wants to put it. And again, it is a bit behind Nunez. But see, when I saw that, I thought of Ribery. Do you know when Ribery used to cut in and he'd loft across instead of backing it, so it takes face off it. I don't know if that could be like nonsense to everyone here.
No, I know what you mean. Because
he used to lift it a little bit, but not, especially if you talk about the Bayern Munich team. I always remember him doing it, and that's what it reminded me of Elliott's cross. But don't get me wrong, that header is outstanding. I think the Garcia shout's a really good shout, because I think Luis Garcia used to score some headers. Do you remember the one against, was it in the Champions League? Was it
Juventus? No.
It was a screamer, wasn't it?
It was a screamer, yeah.
But was it maybe in one of the group stage games where it was like, I can't remember. He was so good at scoring headers that you think it's probably similar to Jota in the sense of not.
Yeah, I was going to say we've got quite a history of shortish guys being brilliant in the air. Robbie Fowler was no slouch in the air. Exactly. Many a brilliant header. So we've got quite a history. But
one thing I have to say though, Nunez, like, he did get booked for dissect in this game, and here's a fascinating stat which I've just found out quite recently. Darwin Nunez has the 5th highest number of bookings in the Premier League this season. The only players to have more, so he's on 8 bookings this season. Only Bruno Guimaraes, Paulinho, and have more bookings than
no
Darwin,
way.
who have 9. So you love him to bits, but please
calm down.
He's the type of guy that could sit and do a 1-match suspension because he picked up too many bookings before the City game if he carries on the way he's going.
Well, he's got double-digit assists, double-digit goals. We just need double-digit cards too. He's gonna get a triple-double.
No, man, we can't. If this blue card business, right,
Yeah, I
gets
don't think-
involved.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's like. I
That
think
blue
most-
card-
Can you have a word? Can you have a word with your people, Conroy? Because your
Yeah,
people are
well, no, I
really
think
taking a piss with this.
It's not, to be fair, the PGMOL and all the referees who've came out. It's IFAB, and I don't think it works for grassroots, but it's not going to work.
Well,
Double digit posts too. Big quadruple coming.
He's gonna
Brilliant.
set a record for like most minutes spent in the sin bin.
Easily.
90 minutes. Darwin
Easily.
Nunez averages 28 minutes in the sin bin per.
Yeah, Keith's gonna discover some stats about how much time he spent in the sin bin. No, please keep that blue card away.
Well, it's a hockey thing. Have y'all ever watched the
Yeah.
NHL? Or like it's an interesting thing. Well, I don't know. It's a different culture because in hockey they're literally allowed to fight. Like they're literally allowed to scrap. So I don't know. Here's the thing: if they bring in the sin bin, but the most shithousey player is allowed to fight the other most shithousey player. Darwin Nunez like
Footballers would not do that.
gloves
Even
and, like,
footballers
throws down with Dara O'Shea or whatever. Yeah, it's fair.
Footballers bark but don't bite. Footballers, that's why there's zero fights, because it's like, get in front of me, stop me doing it. Honestly, footballers,
Come on, you what?
Guys, it's a sport full of theater kids. You know what I mean? It's a bunch of theater kids playing sports. That's what
a junior game in Scotland, right? There's no talking. They're just going to hit each other. There's a difference when it gets to top elitism, elite sport. It's just they're very good at talking, but I think, Evan, you'd see zero fights, to be honest, and that's a good thing. Don't get me wrong, but in comparison to hockey, I just wanted to say as well, though, in the chat, Morientes, I think that's a good shout. I think Morientes scored a header for Liverpool, very similar to that. I feel like
yes,
loads. I remember, was it maybe Charlton or something like that? I remember that. So that's an absolute great shout in the chat.
Yeah, it does. Indeed. Look, it led to us a bit of sigh of relief. Even though we contained them in the second half, it was a much more controlled performance. Of course, we touched upon the reasons for that, which was McAllister and Endo, Curtis Jones as well. You've got three ball handlers suddenly in close proximity to each other, creating triangles, kept Burnley away from the ball, which resulted in us having more controlled possession, which resulted in Harvey Elliott getting on the ball more, which resulted in our front three being involved. And all front three scored, 3-1 in the end. Life goes on. Jürgen Klopp does some fist pumps into all corners of the ground. Some people like it, some people don't. We don't give a shit. This is Jürgen Klopp. He's allowed to do what he wants in his last few months at the club. Yes, his last few months at the club. 3 second silence, maybe. But we must look forward, despite Evan's reluctance or annoyance at looking forward. We must look forward. And the name on everyone's lips, the tip of everyone's lips, tongue, tip of the tongue, whatever, however you want to call it, is a certain Xabi Alonso. Xabi Alonso, of course, all eyes were on Xabi Alonso and his magnificent Bayer Leverkusen team this season. With a huge game, very similar to what we have coming up against Man City very, very soon. Almost a playoff for the title. I mean, I know it's a 5-point lead now they've gained, but, the way it's going. Whoever wants to go first, how did he do in this audition, so to speak? Of course, it's not an audition, but I'm just, for the purpose of the show, calling an audition. All the eyes were on him. What did you think about the way he carries himself? Is he the perfect fit? These are the questions to all of us. We have about 10-15 minutes, so whoever wants to go first can go.
I just want to say, this has got to be, Xabi Alonso to Liverpool has got to be the most poorly kept secret in the history of the sport. It's just like everywhere. Like, it's just like, fans and journalists and other digging up quotes about, my son has a Scouse accent. It's just got to be like it's just so scripted and just so perfect in that way. I'm not hating. I'm just saying, like, wow, there wasn't any bombshell moment about Liverpool's next manager. It seems like the universe has made its decision for us, and that's just kind of the reality of it. But
is it too perfect? I don't know, man. I'm uneasy about it. I'm so uneasy because I feel like the last couple of years.
I guess why it's not too perfect. The reason why I say I don't think it's too perfect is because of his lack of experience. So that makes it not perfect.
Let me say this, and Grizz, I'm not speaking to your point. You're kind of just arguing an angle, and I get that. So people point out Xabi's lack of experience, and that's valid, right? That is a valid thing.
Yeah, no, I'm just putting it in terms of Keith was saying, is it too perfect? Perfect would be Xabi Alonso after he had won the title for Leverkusen this season. So imagine Xabi Alonso next season. That would have been, wow, this is too perfect. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
The lack of that overcoming the title or getting that title over the line makes it not perfect. Just debate.
Yeah, absolutely. I see what you're saying. Some of the people I see who, I'm speaking more to the people I see on the internet who are using it as a disqualifier, as you know, that Liverpool need to be going for more of a finished article, a guy with multiple titles to his name, you know, Champions League runs, experience like this. People don't actually want that. Because you know what 10 to 15 years of experience at the highest level usually involves? Failure in some way, shape, or form. And failure is also apparently unacceptable for criteria of Liverpool's next manager. People point out names. Oh, he failed at Chelsea. Oh, he failed here. Oh, he wasn't great at PSG. Or, oh, you know, Bayern showed him to the door really quickly. People don't actually want experience. People like Alonso because he doesn't have that blemish on his record yet. It's both a good thing and a bad thing. You know what I mean? Because if you bring up someone with experience, you will be swarmed with people saying, "Oh, but you know, so and so." People don't actually want experience. I just want to dispel that. People's ideal manager is someone who's never managed a minute in their life. I swear. I'm not imagining this. It's a phenomenon you can go observe for yourself. But it's looking like sooner rather than later, he actually might have a serious accolade under his belt. He's going to win the Bundesliga, all because Bayern Munich wanted to fill the dressing room with Harry Kane's friends. And that's sad, you know, because, you know, Bayern Munich, so much culture, so much tradition. This is what happens when you let Harry Kane bring his own culture and tradition to your club. You know, there's been so many brilliant tweets. I know you wanted me to talk about the game, Grizz. I'm going to talk about the funny tweets instead. I saw so many funny tweets that were just like, Harry Kane could like move to Celtic at age 38 to try and get himself a league title, and Hibs would win the league. It's just so many brilliant tweets.
Oh, like, that'd be amazing.
It's poetic. It's poetic. And people were saying, you know, things started to go downhill for Harry Kane when he swore on his daughter's life that he touched a ball in an effort to beat Mo Salah to a golden boot he never got close to. And, you know, the footballing forces in the universe were like, you know, that's too much. We're going to curse you eternally. But in all seriousness, this was the audition. This was the big one. People have been tuning into Leverkusen games a lot in the last few weeks, obviously, but this was the big one. Bayern Munich were pedestrian. They did not show any of the qualities that I thought made Thomas Tuchel teams of years gone by very good. Obviously, think about our matchups against Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea. Never easy. Never easy. Obviously, playing against Guardiola's City is a specific type of pain, but I really did not like playing against Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea. They were well drilled. They had a shape. They had an identity. It wasn't always pretty, but they were very, very effective. This Bayern team stinks. That Bayern team stinks. There's no balance in there. How they are not getting the best out of certain players, I have no idea. And I say all this, and I still expect them to win the league. Because look, Dortmund had it all but wrapped up, you know, in Jude Bellingham's final game, and that's just the nature of it. But you know, we all want it to happen for Leverkusen. Obviously, their existence as a club is a specific type of pain. Leverkusen and all those things. I was very young when they blew 3 trophies in 3 weeks. That was 99, I believe. A team full of great players, Ballack amongst them. But I think this could be really interesting. I personally don't back myself as a great tactical mind. I think I'm good with like data and analytics. I don't think I'm great talking about tactics specifically. So people are always saying, oh, well, what does this mean? You know, he has this right wing back, Frimpong, who basically plays as a right winger. He's barely a defender. You know, he's less of a defender than Trent. You know, I mean, and Trent's a pretty unconventional fullback, even when he was actually playing fullback. So I'm not sure what to expect. When I think of when you described it as an audition, Grizz, I'm not sure what to think of when I try to copy and paste Liverpool's players into Leverkusen, or is it the other way around?
What a brilliant segue.
Yeah, it is a great. You know, I owed you a good segue because
you fucking did. Yeah, you ruined the last one. Keith, this was the formation. Conroy, Keith, we're getting into the Alonso chat. Overwhelming favorite, clear favorite at this stage. Of course, it would depend on him wanting to leave Bayer after one season, but what a moment to leave on a high. This is how he sets up. A lot of discussion, a lot of chat. In fact, hold on 1 second. We will have some super chats to read out like I promised. Evan's just spoken. We lost the rest of the panel, but we'll get Evan's opinion on it as well. Evans, I have a question. Do you think the build-up scheme is something Klopp is elite at? For me, it's a big no. I think any decent press affects our build-up because we leave Mac isolated a lot of the times. I think we covered that, what's good. We ended up talking about the build-up and sort of how McAllister is the reason why he's our 6. Because of that, he's trying to... I don't think he's poor. I don't think Klopp's build-up scheme is poor. I just think, he's been unlucky with injuries and personnel. Of course, a certain Thiago Alcantara was supposed to become the master of that scheme. It didn't work out. Now he's evolving Curtis Jones and McAllister into that scheme. So I'm sorry if you wanted Evans, but I think me and Evan have covered it. We've spoken about it in the past as well. But I appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much. And then Dinesh says, whatever we think about FSG, I think he means FCG, they got the manager appointment right last time. I trust our owners to get it right, man, this time. They kept Klopp leaving without leaking 3 months, without tier 1 journalists knowing about Klopp. We'll tuck into these now. Obviously, people are speaking about sort of how, with Alonso's, the way he plays, fit into the current personnel. Conroy, I'll just bring that up again. What do you think?
Yeah, no, so you hear me okay, guys? Yeah, just on Alonso, I've done a little bit of this before the show tonight and obviously the last couple of days because it's looking more and more obvious. I think when it comes to like the layout, he plays a free 4-2-1, but I think that there is a bit of kind of tactical fluidity in that as well. So it might not necessarily be that's the formation he plays when he comes here, but I think obviously, like all managers, the formations change, but the principles will be the same. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if it is a 4-3-3 we stick with when it comes in, but it's the principles and the tactics of what the players do within that formation and in different parts and different moments of the game. So for me, not too focused on that at the moment. I mean, I could be wrong. It could be a case of that you're utilising them exactly in that formation, but we'll see. But what I would be, if it was Alonso, I'd be looking at is people in the chat have mentioned Frimpong, who came on yesterday, probably more higher up the park he came on, but even Stanisic, who scored the first goal, and Grimaldo, who scored the second goal, both the left wing back and right wing back, respectively. It's like that for me, if you're looking at what we have and what we're probably going to have going forward, and we mentioned at the start on our fullbacks, that is we have got good, effective players in those positions. And that's something I think with Alonso's setup, if it is exactly, like for like, that's a huge thing as well. And you've got a unicorn in Trent that allow him to, even if it's exactly like that, a Frimpong, to get him higher up the park in that position, or if you want to maybe use him in midfield, whatever. There's so many options for him to do that. So firstly, that's my thoughts on that, and I think I don't think it will initially be like for like though, but there's alternative things we can do there. I would say though, from my notes, my looking into it, a few things I just wanted to get off my chest now, and I'm sure Keith will come in with this as well, with his thoughts on this. But there is differences. There's clearly differences. If you want a like for like from Klopp, this is not it. So that has to be made clear. just because they gegenpress, lots of teams gegenpress and press in different ways, that's not unheard of. That doesn't mean it's rock and roll football or it's exactly like Dortmund. It's not like that. So for me, it's methodical. It's short passes. Bayern Leverkusen have the most pass completions in the top 5 leagues, more than Manchester City, and their short passes are right up there as well. So that is the style. It's definitely more Guardiola than Klopp. So we need to make that clear to everyone. From what I've looked at, that's the kind of the feeling we'll get, and that is the style we're going for. It is a different style. Long passes is not something that we mentioned today. At the moment, from what you've seen, that's not what Bayer Leverkusen really do. They maybe do go more direct in certain moments, but that's maybe more for ball carrying or, let's say, dribbling and pushing up, at one point to really hurt a team in moments. But again, you've got a unicorn in Trent. That's who's got one of the best passers in the world. So why would you not use that to a certain extent? But I do think the overall gameplay will be different. It's not, you can't look at the stats on short passes and pass completion. It's definitely more Guardiola than Klopp. That's going to be the style. And that's going to be interesting, to be honest, because I think the way we play probably entertains people, but it's sometimes that there may be Man City, people watch that and it's maybe not, like, I'm not saying it's going to be exactly like Man City, but it's not overall like, wow, rock and roll football. We're going to just balls over the top or sharp passes, long passes going at the team. It's definitely going to be more patient from this style, from what I'm seeing anyway. And that'll be interesting to how that comes across. But for me, I think there's so many positives with Alonso looking into it. I heard what the guy said at the start, Evan's point about this perfect manager candidate doesn't exist. I would absolutely agree with that, because even the ones who are qualified for it, there'll be someone would come back to say they failed there, or do you know what, maybe it doesn't suit the club because it doesn't appease the fans, in the sense of there's not a relationship there as well. So there's things that could go against that. And also, when you're taking over for someone who's been so successful, it's sometimes a poison chalice. And I feel like the fact that Alonso has got that relationship there anyway, as a player, he definitely will get a bit more time if it doesn't quite work straight away. And if it doesn't work out, well, if you're going to take a chance on anyone, you might as well do it with a guy who's taken Bayer Leverkusen from 17th to top of the league right now in 18 months, which is incredible. Comparisons at the start of the year were probably look at Unai Emery, but look at Aston Villa right now. They lost today. Villa have had an unbelievable season from when he took over from Steven Gerrard to now, but Alonso's team are literally first from that. So that just shows you the job that he has done. He's been outstanding. So I think it makes a lot of sense. And even if it doesn't work out, it's definitely worth going for him as the candidate, because sometimes people say if you follow up from Klopp, it's a poison chalice. You look at like Moyes with Ferguson, you look at a lot of successful managers. We will see. I would also, just last thing, sorry to keep going on, guys. The one thing that does annoy me, and I see this all the time, it really, really grinds my gears. Is that the right phrase, Chris? Grinds my gears.
I am still the last person to ask if it's the right phrase, but we'll go with that.
We'll go with it, right? See, when people say for a manager about what they've done as a player, it does my head in. Absolutely. Like, I understand the link with the club, that's fine. But see what you've achieved as a player, throw that out. Irrelevant. Managers are an absolute different ballgame. If that was the case, Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard would be outstanding managers. It's that Thierry Henry would be winning World Cups. But look at what they've done in management. It does not work like that. So you have to look who they are as a manager. And I think, to be fair with Alonso, there's a lot of positives there on that. But I've just seen that in the media recently, and it really does my head in. Like, comparisons to Postecoglou. Who's he managed? Postecoglou's been a manager for 25 years, earned his stripes, not being at elite football, so you can get chances like Lampard and Gerrard that comes easily. So I just think there has to be a bit of perspective on what you've done as a manager and not a player. The Zidanes and the Guardiolas, for me, when you look at the stats, they're exceptions to the rule. A lot of top players, and hopefully Alonso will be for his career as well. But I just wanted to make that point as well, because that really does annoy me in general when it comes to football media. So yeah, that's my
don't be too annoyed, Conrad. That would be my advice to you. Just calm down, my brother. Mr. Keith Cross, I am going to ask you a question and say, if Alonso does come along, would you like him to play in the same manner, the same philosophy, the same style even, or formation even? And looking at that formation, Can we see our personnel in there? I mean, I could. The thing that stands out, obviously, the thing that absolutely stands out is he uses wingbacks as his wingers, whereas we use our wingers as our wingers, i.e., Luis Diaz and Mohamed Salah. There is no Luis Diaz and Mohamed Salah anywhere near where we have them. That's the straight away the most distinctive difference. But in your opinion, would you like him to continue the way he's doing and the way he believes? And someone in the chat who's more informed on this, if you are, let us know, how did he set up with the B team at Sociedad? It was Sociedad, wasn't it? Did he have the same formation? Did he have the same roles for certain players in terms of wingbacks? Mr. Keith Cross.
You know what, Grizz? I'm really having a crisis of thought on this whole situation at the moment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because on the one stage, I think to myself, right, is it time for Liverpool to evolve the way that we play football, right? And how we play football is markedly different to how Arsenal play football, how Manchester City play football, our two title rivals this season. I feel like those two teams are much more intricate with the ball. You know, they'll kind of Liverpool do it as well. I'm not saying Liverpool don't do it, but I'm saying a lot of their goals will come out of kind of almost passing you, not to death, so to speak, but kind of, you know, playing it from one side, cutting it back, playing it from the other side. Like they're much more willing to look after the football and play intricate football. I'm looking for words to describe it at the moment, but this is kind of how I see it. I think Conroy made the point in terms of they played the most short passes this season. But again, what are we going to miss as a result of that? We are going to miss Trent Alexander-Arnold playing that one-time pass, and all of a sudden we're counter-attacking 3v3. We're going to miss goals where they kind of come from a pass or a shot from out of nowhere. You know, we are going to miss being a direct football team, which has made us so successful and most exciting to watch. So, you know, when I look at direct players, who's been the most successful manager with the teams in the Premier League playing direct football this season, would you argue, or who has been the past few seasons, you know, who's that up and coming? I know people are going to kill me in the chat and be like, it's another Brendan Rodgers. But I look at someone like a Thomas Frank, for example.
That's probably a good comparison, Keith. That is probably a good comparison.
Thomas Frank would probably emulate, with the players that we have, the style of football that Jürgen Klopp likes. High pressing. He likes to have, I suppose, 2 8s. He likes to be direct with the ball. He likes to be pragmatic in our football. So, you know, if we're gonna veer off our style completely, then Xabi Alonso would probably be the best person to come in with, because as Evan said, he doesn't come with much baggage. Now, it's amazing that you say that, because you look at the managers, look at Luis Enrique, for example. If Luis Enrique came to Liverpool tomorrow, people would be like, oh, we don't want that. And he tries to change the style, and they'll be like, oh, you know, there's going to be question marks. This is the guy. He was the manager of Suarez, Messi, and who was it? There's MSN, right? Neymar. That was his team that won the Champions League, that won the treble, that won the La Liga. And yet he would have too much baggage to come in and change.
Just like Evan said, Keith. Just like Evan said, people will look at stuff when you've had that length of a career. Just backs up Evan's point. There will always be stuff that people will see as failure. Yeah.
So Xabi Alonso to come in and change it would probably be, if we're going to change the way that we play football, he'd probably be the best person to it. The other thing I'd be interested to talk about as well was, you talked about the wing back, the way he uses Florian Wirtz, right? Like arguably as almost like a playmaker, right? We don't play with playmakers through the central. That we don't give free reins to a playmaker to go around and be involved in build up players on the left and the right hand side, etc., etc. Again,
could we though?
Could Harvey Elliott?
Luis Diaz, Harvey Elliott, just to name 2. Mohamed Salah, as he comes into his latter age.
It's a big. As I said before, like that. What's going to happen is, and the pressure as well, because he's not picking up a team that was 18th and is top. He's picking up. If he comes to Liverpool, he will be picking up a team that's challenging for the league title right now. This is a league title challenging squad that's trying to win a quadruple. So that's a big risk to come in and make such big changes to it, and it will be big changes. Let's make no bones about it. The way he plays football, as Conroy said, is remarkably different to what Klopp believes in, other than the counter pressing. So it's a big risk. It's a scary situation. Do we want like for like, or do we want big change? By the sounds of it, by what I'm hearing outside on the social medias, everybody is excited about big change. I would say be careful what you wish for, because he's not going to be able to come in and buy a whole bunch of players to fit his system straight away. And there's no guarantee that the players that currently play for Liverpool Football Club can play that style of football the way Leverkusen play. Last point, it will be very interesting if they play each other in the final of the Europa League. Very, very interesting if Leverkusen and Liverpool cross paths in the Europa League this season.
Oh, well, he's got to throw that game, otherwise we're not.
Let's reach that final. Yo Was Good sent in a super chat earlier, which I answered very rudely, maybe. I'm sorry. But this time I will put it to Evan, even though it's not directed at Evan this time. So we'll mix it up a little bit. He says Alonso is Spanish, so it's no surprise he's more of the JDP positional approach than Klopp's chaotic, get the ball upfield as quickly as possible. He played a 4-2-3-1 with the B team. Change is good. If so, Evan, if he played the 4-2-3-1, that's what we ended up yesterday playing 4-2-3-1, a version of. We've played 4-2-3-1 and there's many versions. There's many versions of formations. Formations, are they the end all and be all? Are we stressing, or is Keith stressing a bit too much about change and formation? Where are you at with this super chat and sort of the Alonso chat in conclusion?
I agree with Keith in the sense that you got to be careful what you wish for. For Alonso to come in and even match Klopp's level, that would involve him being what, the second greatest manager of the era? That's a ridiculous standard to come and walk into. Yeah, definitely be careful what you wish for. Everything, most likely everything, is going to be a step down, and that's not a knock on Alonso. It's just me acknowledging how great Jürgen Klopp is. Alonso is Spanish, so it's no surprise he's more on the positional approach than Klopp's chaotic, get the ball upfield as quickly as possible. He played a 4-2-3-1 with the B team. Grizz, you asked, do formations matter all that much? Of course they do matter, but do they matter as much as people think? No. To be honest, when people start talking about formations for longer than a few minutes, I get very bored and uninterested. That's just me, because I don't think it matters all that much. You know, we talk about Mane, greatest left winger of the Liverpool's 21st century, did not score a majority of his goals from wide positions. Scored a majority of his goals in central positions. You know, scored goals from everywhere. You know, Mane, when you think about it, did not score many goals just cutting inside and shooting with his right foot. He did, but not many. Not an Arjen Robben level, not even a Mohamed Salah level. That dude was scoring goals centrally. He was scoring goals in striker, center forward positions. But by definition, he's a left winger. I don't think positions matter all that much. If I'm being honest, I don't think formations matter all that much. You know what I mean? You know, we talk, oh, we play a 4-3-3. You show the average positions, I don't see a lot of 4-3-3ing going on. You know what I mean? I think formations are the most boring, cyclical part of footballing tactical discussion, because that's not how the game plays out. The game does not play in equal rows, constantly in perfect relation with one another. That's just not. I don't know. For me, your principles are what gives you an identity. Your principles are what gives you an identity. Are we a pressing team? No? Okay. Yes? Okay. Are we a direct team? Yes? No. Are we a possession team? Yes? No. These are the things that matter. Shapes, a second thought. Like a second thought. Individual responsibilities and just your core identities, your principles. That's what makes you who you are. And when you see Alonso talk about his football, he has a lot of the same core principles as Jürgen Klopp. One of the differences is that Alonso prefers to move the ball up the pitch with more passes. But again, you know what I mean? With different players, with an entirely new squad he inherits, he might look at Darwin Nunez and think, I would be an absolute fool not to use him as a direct outlet when convenient. He might look at Trent Alexander-Arnold and say, I would be a fool not to give him a 100% green light to pass the ball whichever distance he ever feels like at any given moment. Because you would be. You know what I mean? How many limitations do you want to put on Hall of Fame level players? You know what I mean? Zidane's brilliance as a manager is that he did not try to do that to that Real Madrid team. People say, oh, they didn't have tactics. They didn't have an identity. They didn't have a shape. He was just a celebrity face leading one of the greatest squads of all time. No, there is a brilliance in subtlety. There is a brilliance in not doing too much. You see this in other forms of expression as well. They say the best music is simple music. You know, simple bass line, simple guitar riff, simple lyrics. That's what appeals. That's often what works. And the same could be said in football as well. So long answer to your question, Grizz, but I am not at all concerned what formation Xabi Alonso plans on playing. I am utmost concerned about what his principles are. And it sounds like his principles are a bit of everything good to have ever happened to the game. So that's why he was my leading candidate for the soon-to-be vacant position.
We must come to an end because we can do plenty of shows depending on whatever the news breaks in the upcoming months in terms of managers and coaches linked. We may discuss that further. In fact, I will. I'm going to try to get some big German journalists or people that have worked in the Bundesliga and have far more insight into the workings of Xabi Alonso. So keep tuned, subscribe if you haven't, liked the show if you haven't. Instead of us guys giving our layman opinions, we will get some big shots to give us some in-depth analysis on the man, the myth, hopefully the legend that is Xabi Alonso, if he decides to join us and leave Leverkusen, and all the other candidates we will have. I will try to get as many people as possible on various shows. But tonight was Red Fellas. Thank you very much for your company. Nearly 300 of you stayed with us throughout, which is magnificent going. We've been going nearly 2 hours. Keith, sir,
Are we going to win the league?
Keith, man, what are you doing to me, man? What kind of question? Why are you asking the most craziest in-depth questions? Like, are you after my job or something? Are you trying to be the hostess with the mostest? Like, just because are we going to win the league? Well, you know, maybe that's next week's poll. I don't know. Are we going to win the league? I'll ask you
In the chat, whoever watches this back in the comments, are we going to win the league? Still top of the league, 16 wins, 52 points. Everybody.
How many do we? How many wins did we say we needed 3 weeks ago? I think it was. We done the show. Was it 14?
12 or 13. I think it was 13 we said. 12 or 13 wins.
13 wins, right? So we lost to Arsenal, so still 13. Then we beat Burnley, that's 12. We have 12 wins to go out of how many games? 15 games left?
I think so.
Yeah, 15 games left.
15 games left. 12 wins needed, guys. 15 games to go.
Already nervous and going to be sick.
I'm saying I think 12 wins. It's a given. One of those wins has to be.
Has to be City.
12 wins with one of them being against City. Of course, I think gets it done.
Let the countdown begin. I'm no Carol Vorderman, but let's do this, people. Let's do this. Let's do this. We have been good. We have been fun. I've really enjoyed the chat. It's good to be back. Good to talk Liverpool. I didn't miss Arsenal on purpose. I was at the game. If this was yesterday, I would have missed the show again. But, you know, it's good to be back. It's good to talk to my brothers, my friends, my family. You're all friends, family. Like, subscribe if you haven't. We will have some more content coming for you during the week. And then, of course, Brentford away, the early kickoff. Wow. We'll discuss that in depth. It's going to be a tricky game. Xabi Alonso chat. Hope you guys have enjoyed that as well. Smash a like and leave us your comments. Oh, very quickly, guys. Man of the match was Harvey Elliott. Clear as well. Wow. Harvey
Easy.
Elliott.
Easy.
Oh, really? Would you have said the same, guys, very quickly?
Yeah.
Easy.
Deserved.
All of you?
Best
Yes.
individual performance on the pitch by
Interesting. I thought Curtis Jones might have got a shout, maybe, just for his just dual roles everywhere he goes. He's just elegance and class right now.
Curtis Jones is quickly becoming a victim of his own standards. Yeah.
Listen, I must go. My daughter's screaming the house down. I don't know why. I think someone's given her Pepsi Max. Wrong time to give kids Pepsi Max. But I think hopefully it has the same effect that Keith's glass of water has, and Evan's multivitamin or whatever gut wrenching drink, and Conroy's iron brew.
Probiotic tea. It's called probiotic.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it gut wrenching because I heard you say gut. But anyway, Red Fellas out. Take care. Like, subscribe. Peace.
Peace.